I think M and the Grim Reaper made a deal. Welcome back to Cryptid Theory. My name is Turmentic, and today we are going to be talking about the Grim Reaper, M, and the Foundation. I promise all of this will make sense once we get to the end, so stick around. I'll leave some timestamps down in the description of the video, but let's jump right in. The first thing I want to talk about is a little bit of info about the concept of death and the Grim Reaper. The oldest death figure, which is related to the Grim Reaper, is the story or myth of Thanatos, the primordial embodiment of demise from Greco-Roman times. Thanatos was one of two twin sons born of Nyx, the primordial goddess of night, with his brother being Hypnos, the sleep god. In the myth, he is captured and imprisoned by Sisyphus, the mad king of Corinth. Thanatos was chained and imprisoned, which meant that no one on earth could die, which created an uproar for Ares, god of war. In the end, Ares freed Thanatos, and Sisyphus was sent to Tartarus, the Greek version of hell. See, the origin, though, of the Grim Reaper figure comes from medieval Europe during the 14th century when the Black Plague was terrorizing Europe. The one story, though, that caught my eye was the story recorded by the brothers Grimm. In this story, the Grim Reaper becomes the godparent to an infant due to death being the only reliable person, unlike the devil or god, that could take that kid. The infant grows up to be a physician, and death gives them an enchanted glass of water that allows them to see if the Reaper is at the foot or the head of the bed. If death is at the foot of the bed, they can sprinkle water from the glass and it will cure the patient. If death is at the head of the bed, though, there's nothing they can do, and the Reaper has to come to reap the soul. Well, the physician is told never to actually use the enchanted water unless he is at the foot of the bed. But one time, the physician, after he actually becomes very successful, he actually breaks the bargain with Death, and he uses it, I believe, on a princess. Death then takes the physician back to his lair to teach him a lesson. And when he gets into the lair, he sees all of these candles that some are varying lengths, and Death explains that these are the lifespans that people still have. The doctor asks, well, where's mine? And Death points over to the table, and it's almost out. Now, to teach the doctor a lesson, Death honestly knocks over the candle, extinguishing the flame, and the doctor dies. Now, the really interesting thing is that the Grim Reaper actually has an SCP designation, and it's SCP-6292. The entity has been known to the Foundation since the Foundation was created back in 1870. It was originally discovered because of widespread Fifth Night events, times that death lowers its activity so less people actually die. The Grim Reaper has avoided Foundation contact except for one night, February 9th, 2012, when the Foundation was able to obtain a recording of a Fifth Night event and place a tracker on the entity itself. It's here that I believe the Foundation, along with M, first made contact with the Grim Reaper. So why bring up M? Well, I've been very vocal about how I think the Foundation was actually created by an evergreen caster in order to help protect humans against magical creatures, magical entities, in a non-magical world. Because remember, with the veil in place, humans didn't really have access to magic, so they had to find some way of being able to defend themselves in case something found its way across through the veil or there was something left over. I mean, because again, remember, going back to one of my original theories, I think that most of the animals that we see in our world today are literally those magical creatures, the cryptids, the beasties, in Metazoo, looking at them through the veil, to where when the veil shattered and all of that magic infused itself back into not just us, but the world around us, those creatures changed back into what they originally were because they had access to that magic. Now, going off of that, I do want to do a brief synopsis of the Foundation in case somebody doesn't really know what I'm talking about. The Foundation is an organization that operates beyond jurisdiction with the task of containing anomalous objects, entities, and phenomena. They operate with a threefold mission, and that mission is secure anomalies with the goal of preventing them from falling into the hands of civilians or rival agencies, contain anomalies to prevent their influence of effects from spreading, and protect from the effects of said anomalies, as well as protect the anomalies themselves. SCP. That's why every single entity, every single object actually has its own SCP designation, because it's literally the info on how to secure, contain, and protect that entity, not only from us, but also from itself. Now, I talked about this actually in the theory video I made about SCP and Metazoo, but almost every single beastie you can think of, at least the more common ones, the more popular ones, actually have an SCP designation. Like, for example, Bigfoot is SCP-1000. And so that means that some of these entities, some of these creatures were either able to, like I said, make it through the veil, which I believe was really difficult. So I don't know how many things really made it through the veil, or they were trapped on this side. And because of the veil being in place, they didn't resemble their full, what they would be with full potential, full magic, veil not being there, what they would look like. So that's why some of these things look really weird. That's why they have very interesting characteristics. Think of the cat that actually is only half a cat, and there is no back half to it, and you can't see anything. There's a black hole where their body is actually cut in half, but it still walks around just like a regular cat. For all we know, that could actually be Sliver Cat, and us seeing it through the veil, not being able to perceive the magic that makes up the other half of Sliver Cat. So again, just to reiterate, the Foundation was created by a evergreen caster in order to protect humans from magical entities, since we had no magical potential at the moment with the veil in place. Now, the reason why, though, I think the founder of the Foundation is M is because of the M clones and because of one specific SCP, and that's SCP-2000. One of the big things that's always bugged me is trying to explain the M clones. Because how exactly do you make clones of yourself, even if you're M, even if you, like, I believe M to be Merlin, even if you're Merlin, how do you utilize that much magical potential, that much magical energy in order to create clones of yourself with the veil in place? And SCP-2000 answers that beautifully. SCP-2000 is a subterranean Foundation installation constructed for the purpose of reconstructing civilization in the event of a K-class end-of-the-world scenario. How does it create civilization, you ask? Well, the computer memory banks houses the information to recreate any lost human genome and can create as many new and unique genomes as it needs to repopulate the Earth. In essence, it's a cloning machine that doesn't hurt the stored DNA and can actually add to that DNA in order to keep it from going corrupted. Now here's the kicker though. The machine also has the ability to input all memories of past people into those clones. This way, civilization can actually start from a specific point in time, and none of that information has to be relearned. Same thing can actually go for a specific person who is in a position of authority in the Foundation. They can actually, in essence, be remade, cloned, and all of their information, all of their memories from the last time they uploaded would be immediately implanted back into that clone. And so it's my belief that M used SCP-2000 in order to make clones of himself, and he did it with the purpose of using them as operatives for the Foundation. Now, two things actually make me think that. For example, titles, if you work for the Foundation, let's say, for example, you are a containment specialist. It would be CS-011, for example. And the Rainbow Wizard, Cassius Cain, in Chapter 2, calls all of the clones by individual numbers. Number 1, number 2, number 3. So that's really interesting. There's parallels between the actual designations. On top of that too, traditionally there are only 50 actually employees of the Foundation, and the highest that we actually see the Rainbow Wizard go up to count, like basically when he's talking to the M clones, is number 43, which is underneath 50. So there could be 50 of those M clones, and the reason why is because they were the operatives that worked for the Foundation under M. So you might be asking yourself, well, why do they actually work for Cassius Cain now? Well, I believe that Cassius Cain, the Rainbow Wizard, actually was working with M at the Foundation in order to secure these anomalies, in order to protect humans. And when the veil shattered, there was no more need of the Foundation. The Foundation was dissolved. And because, I mean, you have to think about it. At that point, all of the anomalies, all of the cryptids, all of these magical things are already out and about. There's no actual stopping them. Humans also have the ability to use magic at that point to be able to defend themselves against these entities. So there was no need for the Foundation once the veil shattered. Once M dissolved the Foundation, Cassius Cain pretty much became in charge of the clones, and he used those to actually help him build Quimbleys and to rebuild Unity City, to bring some sort of normalcy to Cryptid Nation. So how does this have anything to do with M making a deal with the Grim Reaper? Well, I believe that M actually made contact, like we said, with the Grim Reaper because of starting the Foundation. And it was through that meeting, through that agreement, that the Grim Reaper decided to actually help M if M was ever in trouble. I almost might even go as far as to say that M could have potentially put some sort of a contract, maybe even on the Grim Reaper. And it's mostly due to the flavor text of Grim Reaper. And it states, both governor and harbinger of death, he rarely meddles in human affairs, except for one fateful night in Point Pleasant. I believe now, after looking at things, that M was actually saved by the Grim Reaper. And the Grim Reaper is the reason why M actually shows up in a later card. If you actually go and look at Seance, the Tower card actually has M and I believe to be Adam on it. And so that tells me that M actually survived Point Pleasant. He survived that second attack of Mothman on Point Pleasant. To kind of bring up the original story that I talked about the doctor, the boy that the Grim Reaper actually adopted, became the godparent of. I talked about that because Death, the Grim Reaper, isn't actually someone who goes out and kills people. He isn't actually someone who goes out to cause death. He is literally someone to help ferry you to the next life. So that Brothers Grimm story was really telling to me because it's one of the few examples of the Grim Reaper literally causing someone's death. So why wouldn't that actually be able to work the other way around, where he'd be able to save someone from actually dying? So Grim Reaper, I believe, saved M on Point Pleasant when Mothman attacked. So to summarize, what does all this mean? M was the founder of the Foundation. He created it so humans had a way of dealing with magical entities or objects while the veil was in place and humans were cut off from magic and aura. M then used SCP-2000 to create clones of himself to use as operatives. Cassius Cain worked for the Foundation and took control of the clones after the veil shattered, using them to create Quimbleys and Unity City. The Grim Reaper is SCP-6292, and M made contact at some point and created a dialogue, or he contracted it somehow. The Grim Reaper saved M during the second Mothman attack of Point Pleasant. And again, I go back to the Seance card about how you actually see Adam and M clearly looking at Loveland Castle. And the reason why I'm re-looking at some of the old theories is recently it came to our knowledge, Mike was actually talking in a lore Metazoo hour, that the sets aren't sequential, that they don't go from Cryptid Nation to Nightfall to Wilderness, they don't go forward in that the cards are different parts of the story strewn out throughout all of these different sets. So that means that M and Adam actually being at Loveland Castle, there's more to that, because that's after Sam and Love had already left the castle. It's after Love has already put traps in Loveland Castle to try to stop whoever it was that wanted to come and take all of the books. So that's why you actually see the lightning bolt coming down. That's why you actually see it on fire, is because M and Adam actually set off those traps, meaning that M is alive still. M doesn't die in Point Pleasant. But that's all I got for you guys today. Leave a comment down below and let me know your thoughts. If this makes sense, if there's something you can add, if you have a different opinion, I'd love to discuss it with you guys in the comments. But my name is Turmentic. I hope you enjoyed this right here. I have another one that I really want to work on that involves UFO and the planets, so that one hopefully should be coming out within the next week or so. But as always, I hope you have a wonderful day.